So after watching Zack Snyder's Justice League, one of the main questions that general audiences had about the film was the use of the Darkseid Anti-Life Equation. It was mentioned multiple times and we were given key flash-forward sequences to really develop what was coming in a potential Justice League 2. I'm going to be explaining the Darkseid Anti-Life Equation in Zack Snyder's Justice League, alongside discussing why it is so important. This analysis will contain spoilers, so if you happen to be someone who hasn't seen the film yet, then I would recommend watching this video after you've seen it. If you want to see more on the film, including video essays in the coming weeks, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoy this video, remember to give it a like rating. But without further ado, let's dive into the Darkseid Anti-Life Equation explained for the Justice League Snyder Cut. So Darkseid is finally in the DC universe with the long-awaited release of Zack Snyder's Justice League. And with Darkseid comes a whole list of plot points, tools, and other villains to help him destroy the universe. The most core plot to his being is the Anti-Life Equation. In the film, Steppenwolf is still very much the main villain, who is exiled to Earth for failing to deliver enough worlds to his master, Darkseid. But Steppenwolf discovers a way to redeem himself when he learns that Earth contains a secret that Darkseid has been searching for a millennia. This is the Anti-Life Equation, which is explained in the movie as being somehow carved into the surface of our world. Needless to say, this catches the attention of Darkseid and helps set up the effects of a Justice League 2, which of course a lot of us want to see happen. But the movie doesn't really explain what the Anti-Life Equation is, or why Darkseid is so intent on locking it up for himself. So what is the Anti-Life Equation? On hearing the term, the first instinct is to imagine some highly technical bit of calculus that forces you to sit in an endless lesson where you're just not going to get it. Well, the interesting thing about this equation is that it completely gets to the core of the characters and supplies an opposite with the character of Darkseid. It works with giving a counterbalance to the themes and sets up the threat of one of DC's most notorious villains. Anti-Life is a mathematical formula that obliterates free will, allowing the mathematician calculating the result to completely dominate the beings hearing it. In its longest form, the Anti-Life Equation is adding up the feelings of loneliness, alienation, fear, despair, and self-worth, dividing them by mockery, condemnation, and misunderstanding, timesed by guilt, shame, failure, and judgment, and ultimately where hope equals folly, aka a lack of good sense. This would apply to love equals lies, life equals death, and self equals Darkseid. In Jack Kirby's Fourth World setting, the Anti-Life Equation is a formula for total control over the minds of sentient beings that is sought by Darkseid, who, for this reason, sends his forces to Earth as he believes part of the equation exists in the subconsciousness of humanity. And the character Beautiful Dreamer describes the equation as giving the wielder absolute control over you, which, she says, makes you not really alive. Now, why does Darkseid want the Anti-Life Equation? Well, Anti-Life has been owned by just about everyone in the Fourth World at some point or another. It was first found and contained with billion-dollar Bates, an obscenely rich pig of a man who held secret, dark rituals in his basement. Sonny Sumo, one of the Forever People, also had knowledge of the equation early in the Forever People. Orion, Darkseid's son, raised by Highfather as part of the New Genesis Apocalypse Truce, later got his hands on it after defeating Darkseid, who himself came to possess it by creating hundreds of clones of Bates. When Orion tried to use it to give people happiness and peace, he was horrified at how it hollowed them out and vowed to never use it again. It later passed to Mr. Miracle, and portions of it were found all over humanity. It was eventually embedded in a spam email that Makari and Simeon sent to the entire world, giving Darkseid control of Earth in the outstanding final crisis. His hold on Earth was only broken by an extremely angry Superman, a recently liberated Wonder Woman and her lasso of truth, binding Darkseid and forcing him to free everyone, and Barry Allen and Wally West out racing a Radium Bullet, Darkseid's own Omega Beams, and the Black Racer to divert all three through time into the Dark God of Apocalypse. AntiLife has been fairly prominent in both DC Comics and in the TV and movie form. The Anti-Life Equation was kind of the inciting incident behind DC's hit zombie book, Deceased. Darkseid and DeSaad discovered the equation was contained in Cyborg's programming, then they captured the hero and began experimenting on him. Unfortunately, they corrupted it in his body, causing it to be released into Earth's media streams, making anyone who looks at a screen, assuming they're not using their X-ray vision at the time, a bloodthirsty zombie. It was also Darkseid's prime tool in the DC animated universe, leading to arguably the best moment in the best episode of the entire run, when Lex Luthor traded it to Darkseid to get him off Earth at the end of Justice League Unlimited. Of course, we may never get to see how Zack Snyder intended the Anti-Life Equation to play out in a DCEU film, but it's clear that Darkseid would have been the main villain of Snyder's Justice League 3, and likely appearing briefly in Justice League 2, had that come to fruition. But this seems as unlikely a prospect today, as Warner Brothers have just downplayed the idea of it happening. The last official movement on this was Ava DuVernay being tapped to co-write and direct a New Gods movie, which would reinvent Darkseid and the rest of the New Gods for the screen. Presumably the Anti-Life Equation will be at the centre of that too, however there's also been little movement on that spin-off over the last few years. I guess with all of this information recently, only time will tell if we will ever get to see it play out in a movie. But that was my brief video explaining the Darkseid Anti-Life Equation in the Snyder Cut of Justice League. I really hope that we do get to see the potential of this plotline released in the future, but with Warner Brothers coming out and saying that they don't want to restore the Snyderverse, then at the minute it looks unlikely. However, I personally think that if the Snyder Cut gets a lot of attention and rewatchability over a longer period of time, then they might consider changing their minds about the direction of their films. Regardless, I do want to see the Anti-Life Equation brought to the screen at some point, and after watching the Snyder Cut, I really want to see Darkseid in a sequel. This movie is completely different to the one we got in theatres 4 years ago, and it's just great to see characters developed and an actual story being formed in the process, which we would expect from a sequel too. But I hope that this did help some of you guys understand the Darkseid Anti-Life Equation a bit better, and I'm looking forward to hearing what else you picked out in the film surrounding it, so don't forget to let me know down below in the comment section. For more videos analysing the Justice League Snyder Cut over the next few weeks, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.